Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice is a breath of fresh air. We live in a tiring world today where superheroes are not allowed to be very intellectual anymore. All I ever see are dumb joke machines and capes that provide as much depth as a kiddie pool. It's such a shame that audiences everywhere are paying money to see those things instead of bold pieces of cinema, ones that are very much like Man of Steel and Batman v Superman. And what's not to like? It's enriching, it's enlightening, it's subtle, it's symmetric. It doesn't just reference Ayn Rand's fantastic book The Fountainhead, but it alludes to Arthurian legends, and it even pays homage to German expressionism as well. And I don't even know what that is. And once again, it's such a shame that these qualities are so few and far between in the mainstream. So much so that filmmakers like Oliver Assayas and Alejandro G. Iñárritu had to address it in their own films, like Clouds of Sils Maria and Birdman, or The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance, which actually has themes worth talking about than this thing. In all seriousness though, Birdman does not only mock superhero movies today, but artistry in general. It shines a light on just how pretentious it could be and how pretentious people could be in their craft and in their form. But not me. It also expresses how it affects their social lives, their ignorance, and their ego. It deconstructs them all and it kinda spits them in the face with all of its meta convenience and irony. Kinda like the title of this video. God, I'm so clever. The film even casts actors who have been in superhero franchises before. Michael Keaton was in the Tim Burton Batman movies. Emma Stone was in the Amazing Spider-Man movies. Edward Norton is in the MCU. Zach Galifianakis was in the Dark Knight trilogy. And Naomi Watts was in David Lynch movies. But what's so interesting about that? Well, Birdman is mostly about Rickon Thompson, a washed-up actor who used to play the beloved superhero called the Vulture, and he's adapting a play so he can be taken seriously as not only an actor, but as an artist as well. Along the way, we see his relationships with his daughter Sam and the cast and crew of this play. Meanwhile, he's wrestling with his ego, which he's been trying to get rid of this whole time, and it's what the film is all about really. With stuff like the casting and more, the movie constantly winks at you. And what I mean is that these characters reflect some way about the ones they're portraying in the play, which is based on Raymond Carver's short story, What We Like to Talk About Love is Absolutely Lovely, which, I remind you, was adapted by Rickon himself.
You wrote this adaptation?
I did, yeah.
And you're directing and starring in your adaptation. That's ambitious.
Well, thanks.
See, Rickon is a lot like his own character in the play. He reflects Nick's need for love and attention and clothes. It even tells you at the start with a quote from Carver's tombstone. And did you get what you wanted in this life? Even so, I did. And what did you want? To call myself beloved, to feel beloved on this earth. The rest of the cast in the play reflects a lot of their own characters as well. Laura reflects Laura with her pregnancy situation.
In the days before Nick's depression started to eat away at him, he never knew I was pregnant, and I never intended on telling him.
I missed my last 2 periods. I think it's really happening.
Leslie reflects Terry with her excusing abusive boyfriends.
Let's really do it. Let's really fuck.
Maybe not after all. And Mike doesn't reflect Mel. At all.
You're gonna replace me? You're gonna go get fucking Ryan Gosling or some shit? What do you think my friend Tabitha's gonna do you in the time?
That's just one of the many ways there are intricate parallels and connections to the film's real world though. There's so much magical realism here, where fantasy seems to blend a lot with reality. It kinda happens so often that the seamless one-tracking shot camera work portrays the experience of performing an entire play in one go. It really takes Eisenstein's concept of intellectual montage and Bazin's idea of the long take into two distinct connections. And in that case, is it intelligent cinema, or is it just pretty spectacle? Answer me! Well, it's pretty great spectacle accomplished by some intelligent people. Although, if I may add, I think there's an edit here and here. And speaking of the theater motif, even the buildings resemble a stage setting, don't you think? I mean, does anyone else think that those buildings look kinda flat? Is it normal for the night sky to be that dark? Is it normal for middle-aged men to fly around in New York City? Well, in Riggon's world, it is. Alright? Or is it the real world? The film toys with you with that question as well. Like when Regan is hungover, when Regan returns to the theater, when Regan passes this drummer twice, when Regan is in his undies, and so on. But what actually does any of it even mean? We'll have to go back to the opening quote. You see, it rings especially true because Regan does eventually get what he wants. He's gotten high praise, and he's got respect from everyone. Before that, he didn't. He didn't even respect himself. The heroic voice of Birdman is making that clear.
You really fucked up this time. You destroyed a genius book with that infantile adaptation.
In fact, Birdman has muddled everything by being a constant reminder of Regan's glory days.
You were the original, man. You paved the way for all these other little clowns. Give the people what they want. Some good old-fashioned apocalyptic porn. Birdman, the Phoenix Rises.
It was enough to push him to try to commit suicide.
I drove out to Malibu, and I just sat on the beach for a while looking out at the ocean.
Reagan.
And I walked straight into the water. And I tried to drown myself. I was up to my chest when I felt the first one.
And when he failed to die because of those very jellyfish, I think it drove him insane. From then on, Birdman became a major influence to his conscious thoughts, leaving him to think that he's got some telekinetic set of powers too.
I made it happen. Oh, okay.
So, do you think any of it's real? The fashionable side of the mise-en-scène does not play a huge role for this film at all. Sure, it does in the play and all, but there aren't a lot of characters whose entire get-up represent their personalities. The only characters that do are Jake the lawyer producer and the Thompson family, except for the ex-wife. Everyone else dresses casually, except those two. See, Sam has gotten out of rehab a while ago, and with the help of Regan's little discovery, we can see that she's relapsing a little bit. And she's got a bit of a temper too.
Shut up! I hate this job. You're not important. Get used to it. Relax.
Relax.
Meanwhile, Regan really does look like a bird. He kinda looks like a chicken or something. Especially here. His drunken, gaunt skin makes it look like it belongs to a shaved chicken. And look at his posture. He looks like a pigeon about to take flight, doesn't he? I'm not the only one noticing this, by the way. Even Regan does it himself.
Look at this, look. I look like a turkey with leukemia.
This is the kind of attitude we see a lot in the movie. Mockery and self-mockery. Jabs and more jabs. There's jabs at Regan, there's jabs at Mike, there's jabs at Sam, there's jabs at the critic. It's no accident that these are the characters that get the most jabbed, because all of them, in one way or another, are involved with the commentary the film is making. Regan wants to be the real deal, and he tries to ground himself often, but he doesn't have to do that, because Sam does it for him.
You're doing this because you're scared to death, like the rest of us, that you don't matter. And you know what? You're right. You don't. It's not important, okay? You're not important. Get used to it.
Mike considers himself to be the realist. He believes he's himself when he's on stage. He too bogs Regan down to what he really is, leaving Regan confronted by his own inexperience with the theater world.
Bullshit. They don't know you, your work, man. They know the guy from the bird suit who goes and tells coy, slightly vomitous stories on Letterman.
Well, I'm sorry if I'm popular, Mike.
Popular? I don't give a shit. Popular? Popularity is the slutty little cousin of prestige, my friend.
Okay, I don't even know what the fuck that means. So.
Yeah, you and me both, Regan. He goes on this realism charade so often that he disrupts a play preview because something's not real enough. I mean, really? You're an actor. All you have to do is pretend. Oh, and the critic? Tabitha Dickinson? She also does her very best to summarize what Regan is.
And I'm going to close your play. Would you like to know why? Because I hate you and everyone you represent. Entitled, selfish, spoiled children. Blissfully untrained, unversed, and unprepared to even attempt real art.
I don't think he appreciates it though. So much for a thing is a thing, not what is said of that thing, huh?
You're no actor, you're a celebrity. Let's be clear on that.
But why does it matter so much to them to point out what Regan is to them? Are they really better than him? I don't think so, and the film doesn't think so either. Great minds think alike, don't they, Ali G? No? Whatever, The Revenant sucked. The film doesn't think so either, because there really isn't any difference between the so-called high art and the so-called low art. And I actually love The Revenant. There's political intrigue in Hamlet and Batman v Superman. There are monologuing baddies in Apocalypse Now and Star Wars. There's hardcore stuff in Dante's Divine Comedy and death metal. And I can't understand either of them. Uh-huh. Nessun Magior Magi. What? And as for Birdman, there's shock value for the sake of shock value. Well, Alejandro basically said I could interpret this film in any way. In the end, artists all over the world have their own preferences. I say that the preference isn't what matters, so it's all in the execution. But that also doesn't matter because of things like that happening. What a wonderful message.